Welcome, guys, to the Nordic Championship. My name is Scoundrel, joined here by Orcs, and we are going to be kicking off another week because it has been an exciting set of weeks here. We're past the halfway point, starting to see which teams are really coming to the top of the Nordic Championship, and we've got a good set of games today as well. Anything that you're particularly looking forward to today, Orcs?
I think there's a range of good games. I think what always interests me in the second set of the round robins is that you get to see the difference between the initial matchups. And we have the schedule in front of us. I think there's a few of these that you could definitely suggest go in a different direction. I think the first match in particular, one that Hybrid won, I think could definitely go to Bifrost. The rest of them, I feel like, Viper's still favored, Dusty still favored, Singularity still favored, but there's definitely opportunity for upset. I think Nordic looking definitely better than they did in their week one, although not perfect. And Hillerod as well, they started with a very rough start, but they're now on a 4-win streak. Yeah. So looking positive.
They have had to switch out their top lane in there, but we'll talk about that when we get towards that game. I'm looking forward to the Nordic versus Singularity matchup, though. If Nordic is to live up to the expectations that were set at the beginning of the Nordic Championship, this would be the game to meet them. Obviously, Singularity, by far and away, considered the best team performance-wise in the league, even though they've had a couple of bumps in the road.
Yep.
I would say that probably most people consider them the best team in the league right now, so it's definitely going to be a good game to look forward to. If we've got the standings, we can show you exactly where we're at in the standings right now, and you can see Team Singularity 7-1. And I said a couple of bumps in the road, I really mean just one bump in the road. There have been some kind of messy wins, I suppose, but it's 7-1 right now. Vipers, I think, have been the surprise of the season for me. Not a lot of people put them at second, I think, coming into this.
No, Viper's been a really consistent team. I think every player has been performing well. There have been a couple of moments. I think their jungler Hidden had a very rough game, but they've redeemed themselves. And I think my big standout for Vipers is their top laner. I think Lundorf has been an absolute monster. At the start of the split, I was looking at this guy as a bit of an Ornn abuser, and he has been pushed off that. It'll be even more so if you're not aware. We are now on patch 10.4. So
I'm just going to do my button up. Sorry,
I realized. Sunfire buffs have come in, so Ornn going to be even stronger. But I think that isn't a problem. Lundorf has looked so good on champions other than Ornn. He has moved off tank duty, and that is actually a concern. When he played the Gangplank up against Quinstons, he was a monster. When he played the Renekton last week, looking extremely good. So I'm really hyped to see Vipers play again because of that. But Hillerod, I feel like you say, Vipers were the surprise of the season. Hillerod, a lot of people still don't realize that they're in third place.
They're in third, yeah.
They were 1-3. Their first week went 0-2, and everyone just had this impression of them at the bottom of the table. They're on a 4-win streak. They've just climbed so far up that ladder, and now you look at the standings, you're like, wait, they're third? Wow. That's pretty amazing comeback, but they've delivered some consistent wins, which I think is the big thing. And I think finding their form has been a massive factor as well. I think Slot at the start, I sort of haven't pegged as a little bit, leaning heavily on these melee champions, but he has shown that he is such a strong backline carry player on the likes of champions like Corki, and the roster has really shown a lot of strength throughout.
Definitely. I mean, actually, the whole of the Nordic scene has been a surprise in a lot of ways. I think the only consistency that I expected coming in is that Singularity are at the top of the table. Obviously, Nordic has been at the other end of the surprise, but I think there's a lot of time for us to come back here. Like we said, we've still got a few weeks of left of regular play.
We've had our pleasant surprises in Vipers and Hillerod, and then our not so pleasant surprises in Nordic too. They're looking better, not perfect yet. I feel like they're still plagued by some draft issues. And I think Singularity is the sort of ultimate test. It was a close game last time. I think a big difference maker was Krogson. But in recent weeks, he hasn't been performing as well. Not to say he's been bad, just a little bit over-aggressive, and that has been costly. I feel like it's really going to come down to the mid-jungle of Nordivind. I think Aesthetic and Niter, if they can come out with a good show, they could definitely take this match, and it'd be a good way to sort of cement them on the upward trend in the second round robin.
Well, let's focus on the first game of the day. It's going to be Hybrid versus Bifrost. Two teams that have not particularly wowed us throughout the Nordic Championship. I think there's been some up and down performances, Bifrost, especially. What do you make of this particular matchup here?
I think for Bifrost, they are capable of beating everyone, including themselves.
The ultimate team coast.
I feel like they have a big wheel and they spin it, and then it lands on some team style of play. But like, okay, today we're playing Protect the AD Carry, or today we're going to play Sona Top and Roam, or today we're going to play just such a variation. And I think this team has a ton of versatility. If they can refine that and bring out the right matchups against the right teams, they could actually be a contender in playoffs. I think...
they beat Team Singularity.
And Team Vipers. The only team to beat Singularity and Vipers Obviously, not including the fact that Singularity did beat Vipers themselves, but it's insane to see that they managed to beat those two top teams and then they're still 4-4. So I think with some refining, they could go a long way. And if they make it to playoffs, I know that a lot of teams are scared of them because they have so much they can offer in a sort of best-of situation.
Energy and Fiala have been really good solo laners for me from when I've seen them play. I've seen Energy play for years across multiple European regional leagues. He's got a lot of experience under his belt. I think the roster in terms of the names is good for Bifrost. I think, like you said, they beat Singularity, took the only loss for Singularity across their first 8 games, and they beat Vipers, and then Vipers have only got 2 losses, one of which is also to Singularity. So, I mean, Bifrost have got what it takes, as you said, but for some reason, there is some major consistency issues when it comes to playing up or playing down. Maybe they play up to their opponents. Maybe they do play up to their opponents. But
potentially, and I think that's the thing why getting into playoffs could be a big factor for them. If they make it there, they could definitely bring out a draft or bring out some surprises teams don't expect. I think for me on the side of Hybrid, I'm looking towards Priskonet. He had a very rough game last week against Singularity. Just did not look good in the Lucian. And typically, we've attributed him to being a mage player. His Ziggs looked stellar, and they had high priority on that throughout the tournament. But when he played the Lucian, we were hoping this was a bit of versatility from him, showing that he's willing to play more aggressive, and it completely fell on the face. He just was unable to keep up with Krogson. And so this needs to be a sort of redemption game, because I think this is one of the sort of matches Hybrid could very much be looking to beat, to win. I think Bifrost are a team that can be beaten if they go the wrong direction in their draft. And I think Hybrid need to start getting points on the board because they are sitting at the bottom of the table, tied with a scoreline of 2-6.
Yeah, obviously playoffs are now looming. We are heading towards the latter end of the Nordic Championship, and obviously making playoffs is the most important thing for both European Masters hopes as well as obviously just hopes within the Nordic region itself. Now, it has been a first lock-in of Aphelios. That is not something that we are averse to seeing across this meta. Aphelios still an incredibly strong AD carry, and it is going to be answered by Yuumi and Olaf.
Yeah, so a pretty strong combo in terms of providing you have a target for the Yuumi to jump on who can't be CC'd, a lot of dive forwards, and some early pressure from the Olaf, which is kind of needed. I feel like you need a strong early jungler if you have a Yuumi because it doesn't offer too much pressure in the bot lane. The counterpoint from Hybrid is his Thresh. Great use of the Lantern, can completely mitigate Olaf, who doesn't have any gap closes built into his kit, other than just running at you and throwing axes.
Also a good way of just locking down a Yuumi-based AD carries, having some kind of hook potential.
So if you go something like Ezreal Yuumi in this situation, it's pretty hard to go up against the Thresh Aphelios. And then I really like the Syndra pick. It's normally actually prioritized as a first pick, so if to come in third is a strong option. It works as a blind. Unfortunately, in this situation, it can't be used as a flex, but Priskonet, we know he's strong on mages. I'm happy to see him picking this one up.
I mean, Syndra is one of those mid lane picks that you can pick blind in a lot of scenarios, just simply because, you know, she has good lane matchups. She's got good priority. She shoves waves. It's very difficult to pick something that's just really good into Syndra.
Yeah, especially in this situation where Bifrost, they kind of have the hand forced. So they went the Yuumi, and they didn't opt to pick the Ezreal on that rotation. Yeah. And the reason being is enemy team already had their AD carry. You know it's not going to get denied. But that locks you in. If you want Ezreal Yuumi, you have to have it
on first rotation.
You have to pick it on that third pick, which means Hybrid pick the Syndra, you have no opportunity to counter it before the next ban phase.
And so bans can come through here for Hybrid. Yeah. The problem, I think you were very right, because they picked the Olaf up now, they boxed themselves in because either they were going to have Ezreal banned away from them, or they're going to be in a situation where they may lose some important mid lane picks that they may want to play into the Syndra.
Which, I mean, to me, if there's another jungler they were potentially picking that was really high priority, sure, but I don't think Olaf is the sort of one I would expect to get picked up there by Hybrid. Potentially denial away from Sharp, who has joined the Hybrid roster. Hasn't played earlier than this week, so it'll be interesting to see him making his debut for this split of the Nordic Championship.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's something that can unlock Hybrid as a team. Like you said, they haven't really had the most successful run in the Nordic Championship so far. We're going to see. It's going to be a Diana ban coming through here, so maybe trying to sort of target energy a little bit. But the Diana obviously not going to the jungle, as we know that unless Fiala decides to take Olaf top, which would be very, very, very odd.
It's essentially Diana can cause a lot of issues for the Syndra because you have that dive potential always available, especially when you're going up against an Olaf as well. It's just two champions who can get up in your face, and if you end up misplaying with regards to your stun, it can become very difficult. And then Bifrost, it suggests to me that they're planning to potentially, they could be going for a counter pick in top lane, or they could be going for a blind here and leaving their mid lane pick until later, or a flex would function pretty well on top of that. We have opportunity to see Bifrost are in a comfortable position because essentially they can give themselves double counter pick here. They can counter pick mid now, although Syndra is hard to counter. really strong blind, they can then counter-pick the top as well. So they get choice of that matchup.
We'll see. I think taking mid would make sense here, but it's going to be the Ziggs for energy. Something that Dan has been incredibly passionate about playing.
Broken jump. Seen it along the LEC. He has priority early, which is really important, especially if you have an Ezreal Yuumi lane. Scales extremely well, especially against immobile carries. And Hybrid have two pretty strong but immobile carries. You throw that ult on top of them, it can just zone them out the fight. That can be it. They're too low to contribute. Game over. And obviously there's already a ton of poke already built up for Bifrost. And we do see Hybrid locking the Lee Sin for Sharp. Not too strange. A lot of the junglers have been putting a heavy priority on this champion. And it means that playing up into the Olaf, if you find him on low HP as he likes to be when he's clearing, you can have that execute.
What do you blind pick top here? Is there anything left open that strikes you as obvious that would fit this composition? Like you probably need some kind of frontliner.
Set works.
Aatrox is going to be the lot.
Yeah. Aatrox set are often traded off with each other. The question is, what is Fiala going to take in response to this? His Riven is banned away, so obviously you can't take that in this matchup, but he could go the set himself, would give them a strong frontliner, potentially threaten flanks. It's a fine matchup in the Aatrox. He could also go in the direction of something like Mordekaiser, but looking like he's potentially going to play something more defensive, and if he does go this Poppy, it's really good at just stopping Sharp from ever being able to do anything in a team fight situation. I really
like the Poppy because what this provides is just that area of defense, anti-engage almost, that you've got coming out
the disengage is a critical thing, yeah.
And also you have the, like, if they get too close, if Lee Sin and Aatrox or even Thresh finds a hook, whack that hammer down. Suddenly you can reset and try and go again. I think it's a pretty good pick in this scenario. You've just kind of got to survive that laning phase versus the Aatrox.
And I think this is another example of Bifrost, their versatility, where they've spun the wheel and they're like, right, today we're playing poke. And they have a lot of poke in their composition, especially with the mobile carries like Priskanet and Merbs. It's very easy for you to land skill shots on them from a long distance away and then just chunk them out the fight. I
think what I'm looking at here for Bifrost is that if you give them 15 to 20 minutes of an even game, they're in a really comfortable position because, you know, the later this goes, the worse it looks for Hybrid. Not obviously Aphelios scales well, but you know as well as I do, Ziggs just needs to land one Q in the late game and suddenly Aphelios is chunked well out of the fight because if that ult lands on him, he's probably dead after that.
I think the issue as well in this situation is that there's no real great engage potential from Hybrid.
Yeah.
You're really looking for picks on the back of the Lee Sin and the Thresh on individual members, and that can work extremely well. If you manage to find a pick on the Ziggs, that can be enough to turn the tide in your favor. But in the late game, if that is your one sort of engage condition...
Well, even with Lee Sin, you have to find a flank without using Sonic Wave because the Poppy's there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, assuming the Poppy is grouped. If the Poppy isn't grouped, then obviously you have potential for that. But if you're looking at an Ezreal really hard to make those plays on. Even Ziggs has the Satchel Charge, which can obviously limit your effectiveness. Essentially, I feel like Hybrid need to have the pressure really, and they need to just run away with the game.
Do you feel like this is definitely going to be a Sharp and Priskanet combo game? Like, is there going to be about that mid-jungle popping off early?
It should be. It absolutely should be, because I feel like top lane, Poppy really neutralizes the Aatrox and actually can out-trade him in the early stages. I think Thresh Aphelios into Yuumi Ezreal, you have priority, but it's pretty hard to threaten unless takes that missteps. I think this is going to be Priskanet's redemption game and a good opportunity to see what Sharp can do for Hybrid.
GG, already over. Gold given over to Pedersen on the Yuumi.
Yeah, game's over. He's got that gold in his pocket.
GG, FF at 15, go next. It's going to be a good game, though. I actually haven't seen as a heavy poke composition like this played in quite some time. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how Bifrost pilot this. But obviously, let's not count out Hybrid here. They can very easily steamroll the game if they get an early lead. Like, this is one of those compositions where you're going into a pretty hard scaling side of Bifrost. And if you run away with it, with like Priskanet popping off, Sharp popping off, you manage to translate that to 4-man dives bot. Like, this is a game that could very easily be over at 22 minutes if you give too much over to Hybrid in the early game.
Yeah, and I think a big issue on top of that is poke comps often need setup. If you start a fight and you go for an engage and you haven't got the setup, you could very easily see Olaf just charging in, getting blown up, and then you don't have a front line to function around if Poppy isn't there or unable to provide that cover. And as a result, I think Bifrost, it's going to be very important to have patience, establish that vision control, and then look to apply the pressure.
Sharp starting topside, blue. What does that tell you about what he's intending to do in the early game here? Because
keep away from Poppy.
Yeah, okay.
There's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do in that lane.
Too tanky.
So you're not ganking top, basically.
I think you want to play the bot side heavily. Yeah. If you lean on mid lane and put pressure there and force the Zig to play reserved, because there is gank setup with the Syndra, with the stun, you can potentially dive bot lane. Yuumi is so garbage in dives pre-6. She just does nothing at all apart from one heal. And it's essentially like a free double kill. So the condition for that is that you don't want Olaf to counter, and you want to have priority mid so that you can move Syndra open. You get the kills, you get out before the TPs come in, and you're good to go. And you can see already in the bot lane, I like that ward coming out from Priskanet. Just allows them to track Shackle, but you can see the bot lane. This is what happens every Ezreal Yuumi game, is you're just shoved in. And what typically happens with Ezreal Yuumi is it's like if you get to sort of level 9, level 10, you have a couple of items on the Ezreal and you're unscathed, that's like a big tick. That's like, right, we did it.
You've done well. You've done well.
Now we take over the game. But that is the thing, is that you can definitely shut them down, because in the early game, they don't have much to contest priority. They do have a little bit of poke and sustain, but in terms of shoving the wave out, you really struggle. And as a result, super vulnerable to dives.
Very, very, very early pressure coming out here in every single lane, apart from Energy, who's obviously sort of dealing with a fairly even push here. Priskanet not trying to push too hard, maybe trying to set up for a potential gank.
Yeah, that's what makes it difficult, is his wave position, is that you are vulnerable. And you can see he's playing towards the top side because he knows his jungler Shackle is there. Yeah. So he's leaning very close to him, so if he does have to run away, the Olaf will come up. And that means, I mean, Sharp isn't really in a position to gank when he knows the Olaf is around, so he's just going to clear up that scuttle. Both junglers will trade those, and then likely head towards the last camp, which is that Krug. So essentially mirroring just on opposite sides of the map, going for that camp. So looking to maybe more time before they go for something, but actually Sharp, he's looking to potentially invade in this situation.
Not even invade, maybe looking for the gank here.
Yeah, they can dive so easily. There's really very little, but Energy is resetting. If he TPs in, this could turn things around.
Barrier, remember, you don't have to take flash as Yuumi, so you can have the heal, the extra defensive itemization. The stun does come through, and there's the hook. There's an immediate barrier. The heal will come through. The Ignite shouldn't get the kill onto take set. It will force the teleport out from Energy. But that's fine. He can just rotate back. He had a good lane position. And that's exactly what you told me. You know, we expected to see a dive very early on. They get away with it because they had the double defensive summoners down there, but it was definitely risky.
It's a critical thing.
Yeah.
It does mean that Energy ends up missing a couple of CS mid, but he had priority, which means he doesn't lose too much. He's able to get back to mid lane pretty fine. What I want to see from Hybrid is a repeat gank.
Yeah.
I want to see them do that again, and then next time it should be the kill.
All right, so now if you're Shackle, and you know that is potentially on the cards right now for Hybrid, how do you respond, jungle pathing wise, and how do you respond to try and prevent that from happening again?
I think you can path towards bot side, and you can potentially play the cover. If you're there when there's a setup for a gank, you can sort of turn things around. His bot side camps are respawning right now. Dragon is coming up, so he wants to be on that side of the map. I think coming from base, you could actually path to your Raptors and then move down. You have that timing window available to you.
Yeah.
And that means you're in position to cover your bot lane and potentially contest it if Sharp tries to sneak the Drake. I think top lane, Fiala's fine. Just leave him.
It's Poppy. She shouldn't die.
And the wave's pushing into her, I believe. So it's perfect situation for the Poppy. And I think he is going for that. He's heading towards his Raptors, and he's going to clear downwards and just assist his team. He could go for the Scuttle on the top side before he passed towards bot lane. It takes a little bit more time, but it depends how imminent he feels the next...
Lee Sin gank is. The problem is there's no vision right now for Bifrost. Like, even in anywhere on their... I mean, the only ward they've got on the map is right in the mid lane. They have no vision control across the rest of the map at all, so they have no idea where Lee Sin is. And therefore, the timings, I think, for Shackle must be in the back of his head. He must be thinking, well, I can't take too many risks here, because if I give it up, even for just a moment, then Sharp could be looking for the gank. It looks like Priskanet and Sharp are in the blue side jungle. Pings will come down. Shackle has seen them. So he is aware that Sharp is on this bottom side of the map right now. And he is ready at his Krugs to prevent a dive happening, as he has managed to position himself to prevent that second repeat gank.
At his Gromp, not his Krugs.
Yeah, so yeah, Gromp. He has managed to prevent that second gank coming. There is a very defensive control ward there as well, but he's going to start at the Drake. Again, no vision control because they've had no priority in mid and bot.
Yeah, and that's the critical thing. In this situation, Shackle can be there to defend the potential dive, but he isn't in a spot where he can stop the Drake, because mid lane was shoved in, bot lane shoved in. He has to accept that fate and back away. He will clear out a lot of this vision. Control ward down in that new brush that was included in Season 10. So he's given a lot of cover, and he can now pick up the blue buff and potentially hand that over to Energy as well. So essentially right now, Shackle is playing a very supportive role, which you don't typically see from an Olaf. But he knows that him playing Olaf wasn't a I want to stomp early game. It was a I want to be relevant in the early game and provide for my team. and get them through this rough stage. So for now, we can take stock of the game, take a look at the farm across the board. Mid lane's even, top lane's even, jungle, Shaco's actually a little bit ahead. Bot lane is down 10 CS, but again, that is completely fine considering the lane you are playing with the Ezreal Yuumi.
And a barrier is up again, and heal will be up momentarily. So they've managed to weather the storm of that first dive, and their defensive summoners will be back available. We are heading towards level 6. They've just hit level 5 for Pedersen and Take Set. This is a good space for Bifrost.
But the one thing I will say is that Kakan and Priskanet both have DP advantage. Yeah. If Hybrid want to go for a heavy lean towards bot side, they can. Whereas now, though, because they've taken Dragon, they're going to reset and head towards top side. So it will be them making the same play, but towards top side. Because right now, Take Set and Pedersen reset. They'll come over, try and sort of protect that side of the map, but there's going to be a little bit of concern because, again, Hybrid are the ones who have the momentum here.
Yeah, at least they read this play because they didn't even have vision, so they read the play, which is good.
Yeah, it's pretty expected in this sort of situation. This is a very reset-heavy meta where you sort of you go for the dragon. When that's down, you reset, go top side, then you reset, go bot side. It's very swap-heavy.
I think what they're doing well, Bifrost, is playing around the one advantage that they've managed to gain, which is through that bot side of the map. And they're playing around that really nicely, and they're continuing to put pressure. Even if it doesn't result in kills, it is resulting in, like you said, these big map advantages like the Rift Herald, like the Dragon.
Yeah, and the two neutrals that you can look towards is the Rift Herald helps you snowball a game by contesting towers, taking plates, getting gold. And the Dragon extends you towards that soul, which can be a big issue because, say, Bifrost fall behind and they're not in a position where they want to fight, they may be forced into it if there's a Dragon soul looming. So you obviously want to put priority on those. Right now, Shackle's actually a little bit overextended here.
He is. He's kind of quite out in a rough spot. He's maybe forced to... Oh, he flashes away immediately, does get the stun there, and immediately has to jump in. He will go down. Now energy. That was a little bit, weird positioning. I was just a bit caught off, actually, from Shackle there. He flashed, and then the ultimate wasn't good from Syndra. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a situation where initially Hybrid had started up, oh, this should not be happening. But it nearly was.
It nearly was.
Putting the hit down on Kakan, and Kakan's been someone who a lot of people rated heavily coming into Split. Hasn't really performed that well, especially he's been playing weak side a lot for Hybrid and has made mistakes. That was nearly one of them. Do have a pause coming in, but I think the big talking point of that Herald was it was clear Hybrid came to the top side of the map with the intention of looking for Herald.
I'm being told top lag spike. That's maybe why he lost that that trade.
That might be a factor. So apologies, Kakan. That time, it wasn't on you. But yeah, I think they obviously came there, they defended the Herald, they delayed it because Hybrid weren't willing to take it when the enemy team was responding. And then Hybrid instead just contested vision. So they got vision control over the area, and then Shackle still walked in and kind of tried to just contest the area with no vision, no priority, and it was a really easy to collapse. So I think that was him maybe misreading the situation, and it can often happen when you play in a scaling competition. You're like, hey, we're doing what we need to do. I feel great, let's go. And it's like, no, you're still waiting for your Ezreal Yuumi to be relevant. You still want your Ziggs at that Luden's point where you can just one-shot a wave and easily contest priority, because at the moment, Syndra looking really strong. She's level 8, she's about to hit 9, where she gets increased damage on her Q because it's maxed. And I think this is where things get a little bit scary because there is that burst potential we saw on the Olaf. Even with the ultimate, he was just completely cut through.
His positioning was terrible there, though.
Yeah, but it just shows that the damage is still there. It doesn't matter if you can't be CC'd. It doesn't matter if you're playing the likes of the Ezreal. There is a lot of burst damage in the other opposing team right now. So you just need to play a little bit more reserved. You need to play for those item spikes. You need to just play to deny. And they've given over the Herald now, which I don't think is too much of an issue. As long as you're playing correctly and you have things like the ultimate from Ziggs available, or you have TPs to cover, or you have people in the right position, they should at most be able to get a couple of plates. And a couple of plates is not a big issue. If they start taking towers, it's okay, as long as it's not like the mid tower. I think when you're playing a composition that wants to scale, it's really important to maintain that mid tower, because being the center of the map, you don't want it to be shoved as deep. You also don't want the area control to expand there. So I think the big criteria for Bifrost is protect mid tower.
All right, we're just waiting to hear from Kakan whether his lag spike has been resolved. He is restarting his router right now, so we'll keep you updated as soon as we get any info on that. Yeah, I think the beautiful thing with Ziggs though is that if you need to clear waves, it's very easy to do.
You can do it anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw top, throw bot, throw on top of you.
He's the ultimate stalling champion. He stalls so easily.
That's why I think he's so good, because a lot of people have lent towards scaling in the current meta, because we've seen the nerfs to plates, we've seen things like the Dragon Soul and the Elder. Elder is no longer, oh, you need to have 4 dragons for it to be relevant. You can actually even pass up on a Dragon Soul and then just take the Elder and win a game off that. And so a lot of teams have played more scaling. It's not like there's a clear consensus because everyone is doing it, and you still need to contest early. But I think these are the sort of champs that you look towards, these champions that can contest priority and scale well. Like Ornn is another example. That champion scales extremely well, but he still shoves pretty hard. And he's just difficult. He's a neutralizer.
Yeah.
You stick an Ornn in mid lane, enemy team just cannot do anything.
We're ready to go. I've just been told players look like they are ready to jump back into game. Look like with some resolved issues from Kakan, so we'll get ready to jump back in as soon as possible. Now, we're nearly at 10 minutes in the game. We're 9 minutes 20. The goal difference is only 600 at this point in time. Obviously, there is a lot of pressure coming out from Hybrid to try and maximize that. I will be honest, though, Fiala's done a really good job here. I think potentially due to that Kakan lag spike, but he's managed to find a small advantage in that top lane.
Yeah, which is always nice to see when you're playing weak side and manage to find little increments. Obviously, the big factor here is these top laners have been on an island. Not too many interactions going on between them. The question is going to be where they're going to throw down that Herald. Right now, Hybrid have priority in the top side. They probably should be. They can shove another wave in the situation, but after that, they should definitely be looking to swap towards bot lane. Actually, ult comes in from the Yuumi.
Yeah, I think it will not get much done here, though.
Heal comes in to get them away.
Yeah, I think they were maybe afraid of the fact that now they're level 6. There is some kind of all-in potential with the Ezreal ultimate, the Yuumi ultimate. You need to be a little bit careful. But honestly, right now, it's definitely not Atlando. I've just noticed that it's Atlando in the... Oh, no, it's been changed. There we go. Aha! That was quick production. I'm going to give you a thumbs up. That was pretty quick. Hybrid are now at 1,000 gold lead. So they have a bit of space to work with right now. They are definitely not in danger territory right now. They can look to snowball this lead. They can look to use that Herald to at least take some plates, maybe in the right scenario, even try and take first tower.
Okay, swap is finally coming in. A little bit later than you would typically see, but I don't think there's a huge burden on Hybrid having to swap on a wave crash because they permanently have priority in their bot lane, so it's pretty easy to do. They're now reset. They're going to head to the bot side of the map. Sharp has already established vision control. They're now looking for energy.
Energy so low. Sonic Wave will pick him up. And that was an easy kill there. And actually, could maybe even drop now. They're not going to drop the Herald. They're just going to set up for the Drake here.
Yeah, TP actually comes in from Kakan, which I'm not a huge fan of because you want to play around this dragon. I guess the timing of it is the important thing. Bifrost aren't really going to contest when their bot lane was still top, so it doesn't really cause that many issues for him catching the wave with the TP. Ultimately, what's going to come from this is Sharp had already established vision. They got a pick on the mid laner. They can now look to take the dragon, but instead they're just going straight for this tower, so making a little bit of an improvisation here.
They're just going to drop the Herald straight away.
But here's the
teleport,
TP
though.
disadvantage.
This is a big TP coming out from Fiala. He's going to try and look for the flank. Unfortunately, cut in the middle of nowhere. Energy's down there as well. It's 2 versus 4 right now. It's 2 versus 4, and Sharp is so low. Energy gets the kill. Does he get the kill? The ultimate comes through. It does, and now Fiala's stalling for as long as he can. He will go down. Shackle and Pedersen doing what they can to try and engage this fight. The ultimate comes through from Olaf. He will be forced back. Take set also forced back here. Disastrous timing from Bifrost means that Hybrid completely get away with it, and they're going to pick up the top lane turret to boot.
That was a super weird play. You could tell that Bifrost were kind of caught with their pants at their ankles, and they try to make an adaptation there by TPing in to respond. They burn both TPs, but no one else was in position to respond. Takeset was miles away, Shackle was miles away, the tower still goes down. They end up trading evenly in terms of kills, but the end result is they also lose top tower with that play. So a massive disadvantage for Bifrost, and the only consolation prize is they get this Ocean Dragon.
Which is not much of a consolation prize, if you ask me. Maybe this top lane tower, I think it does. I think top lane tower does go down here. It's going to be very close. It doesn't. Oh my word, that was one basic attack away as well, but maybe he really did fear what Fiala could do. This is the advantage that Hybrid needed, though, in this early game. Shackle now going to be the target. Great hook comes in. Easy kill for Sharp. And that's, again, more pressure. Now they're going to find the flank. On to Takeset and Pedersen, who are stuck in the alcove. That is not where you want to be. The ultimate from Merbs, not quite good enough.
Not sure you're getting the recall off.
Not sure you're getting recall, but it's an all-in attempt. But they immediately pick up the kill with Priskanet. Should be getting double comes through from Priskanet here. Merbs, I think they were trying to give that over to Merbs, but...
Yeah, and just as I was praising the early game of Bifrost, they've really dropped the ball.
It's 5k gold lead in the matter of about 2 minutes.
And it was just, they made that massive misplay, and then they didn't respect on the back end of that. Shackle hung around. Takeset and Pedersen were super pushed up. It's just really weird to see. This is the same team that beat Singularity and Vipers, and yet it just seems like they completely lost the plot in this game. Their early game was looking fine, and as soon as they started transitioning to those rotations, they lost tempo. They tried to make a TP play to make up for it, and it just failed massively. And now it's not looking good for them when they have this much of a goal disadvantage, because this is Hybrid saying, right, yeah, we drafted, we wanted to find advantages in the early mid game, we've done it. It's just extending that from here. And it's pretty hard for Bifrost to really respond. They still have their mid tower up, which is a good factor. That top lane is still alive, even though it's an auto way, it'll go down very quickly. I think critically, it's going to get a little bit difficult, because next objective coming up is that Herald. Hybrid have already started to make moves over there to contest it. If they get that Herald, they can throw it down mid, get the mid tower, and once that mid tower is down, that's when things start to get really difficult to sort of stall the game out.
Well, I almost think that we're in a situation where Hybrids have set up the platform for winning right now. I mean, this is a situation where you feel like it'll be very difficult for Bifrost to find a winning scenario, because they are just now falling behind in item spikes, but also just in overall team gold too. I mean, we're looking at an almost 6,000 gold lead. This is looking grim right now. Shackle is setting up for a potential play onto Merbs, but he will not take that risk, as Axis does try and support him by throwing that hook over the wall.
Yeah, top lane tower just went down the minions, so no one gets a local gold, but still that structure falling. And I mean, all in all, the person I got to praise here is Priskanet and Sharp. I think Sharp coming onto the roster, great addition. He's looked solid. He knows what he needed to do. He's been in the right places. And Priskanet, his Lucian game was, I'm just going to say it, terrible last week. And I think he would say the same thing. To bounce back from that is difficult, though. To be confident enough to say, give me the blind Syndra, I can do this. And then he's delivered so far. 3-0-3, he's been looking good. He's been rotating at the right times. He's been finding the priority and threatening energy. And it's just been a good look. We said the mid-jungle for Hybrid needed to step up here. So far they have.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about it right at the start of the game. This is definitely going to be a mid-jungle mediated game. And you can see, even just by the scoreline alone, you're looking at a very, very strong game from our mid-jungle combo from Hybrid. This is a potential gank opportunity, although just so squishy. The ultimate will come through from Energy here, so it is a shutdown. The hook will not follow up. A 1-for-1 at the end of the day with a shutdown going over is not a bad situation for Bifrost to find themselves in.
It's a great situation for Bifrost.
Yeah.
You happily trade that, and just as I'm praising Priskanet, he just randomly walks up to 4 members and dies. And yeah, no chance of you doing anything to this tower without Herald. Energy has blue buff, and he has the Yumi with him as well. Ziggs with Ludens. Ludens is the big spike for Ziggs, because at that point, your Q, your bouncing bomb, can just one-hit casters. And then if you want to kill the melee minions, you can Q, WE, and they'll just blow up. It's very difficult to push a wave against the Ziggs once he has the Ludens available. That is why you need the Herald, and Sharp resetting there obviously means that they don't have it to use. So it's fine, though. They have timing windows. I think what they should look to do here is get control of this bot side, which they already have a little bit, but really push that out. You can see Kakan clearing out this ward. Throw the Herald down mid.
And then just go for Dragon?
And then just go for Dragon as a consequence. Or you bring, I think the better play actually is bring Bifrost over to contest the Dragon, and while they're doing that... Take mid tower, because I think if you throw the Herald down... Okay, coming in.
Oh, that's a good kick on to take, sir. He'll go down. He'll go down to Sharp, who actually finishes up with the Sonic kick. And I think that might be enough to put some pressure on this mid lane tower.
The tower's low enough. Herald will just kill it instantly here. They're still trying to look for picks. But the critical thing is you break this tower, and it's so much easier to play aggressively. It's very hard to take a tower against a champion like Ziggs, so getting a Herald is extremely important. All they need to do is push the wave out, and this will go down, and then they can look to move towards the Dragon and take that one.
Yep, this charge should come through. A lot of damage. An easy mid lane pickup right now. This is the best of both worlds. Again, set up by Sharp. You may have said that Priskanet made a small positioning error in that previous fight, but Sharp has been excellent at just pushing through Hybrid's early game plan. He has really been the MVP for me so far. 100% kill participation. Everything has been set up by this Lee Sin player. he has been the standout performer for Hybrid so far in this game.
Yeah, good addition to the roster. And now 2 dragons on the table. Cloud Soul, a pretty impactful one, honestly, when you have immobile champions like the Aphelios and the Syndra. Having that extra movement speed is a big factor. The active, the 50% movement speed you get when you ult, also synergizes extremely well with the Aatrox. So happy to potentially see that one. But ultimately, it's just the element of control. The gold lead, just under 6,000. They have those 3 towers down. Now it gets a little bit slower. Unless Energy.
That's an already flash bird. Now Sharp jumping in. That's going to be the ultimate from Yuumi to keep them safe. Energy and forced to use his own defensive summoners as well.
So Energy overextended a little bit, ends up using the flash, but this is where things get a little bit trickier. So inner towers, notoriously harder to take than the outer ones. And on top of that, there's no neutral objective up and available. Baron's coming up soon, but you're not really at a point where you can do that. You can steal away blue buffs like this. You can farm the extra jungle camps you have by pushing up. But ultimately, this is the real test for Hybrid, is them extending their control. And often it can come from rotations, strong lane assignments. Because we have the Cloud Soul map, you can actually move through the jungle far quicker because of the speed shrines. So it allows you to potentially make those plays possible.
One thing I will say, though, is you're not going to get much side lane pressure 1v1 Kakan versus Fiala. Fiala holding his own in that side lane matchup despite the gold disadvantage right now. So it might be difficult. I mean, obviously, Aatrox is going to shove in the Poppy.
And that's the big thing I think you need to play around, is you have the priority and that allows you to rotate. And that's where you can find numbers advantage. The difficulty is that if Energy goes mid, it's very hard to ever contest Energy unless you're in a position to engage. So it means that the end result is if you want to find a rotation, you're going from top all the way to from bot all the way to top, or you're going from mid outwards. And again, it's hard to pressure mid too much. And you have the Mega Inferno Bomb from the Ziggs as well. So this is the big test for Hybrid. Can they find some momentum in a part of the game that's notoriously difficult? I feel like they are trying to control vision around the Baron area, but I think Bifrost should know it's very low chance they're actually going to do it. They've already picked up 2 Scrying Orbs to potentially contest vision. They have the Ezreal, the True Shot Barrage, the Mega Inferno Bomb. Both of those give vision, so not too much of an issue. I feel like actually just murdering Kakan right now in this matchup.
He's maybe looking for a charge attempt here, trying to put pressure on Kakan where he can. Just lands that ranged basic attack. He's just going to go in right now. Nice dive out to make sure he doesn't get pulled back in towards that turret range. He's really, really pressuring Kakan out in this side lane. Now, obviously, this is the Baron pressure coming in from Hybrid, but obviously you're doing this versus the Ziggs. It's one of the harder champions to go against. That's going to be Kakan popping the ultimate here. Fiala jumping away.
Fiala can just disengage. You got his ultimate and his flash. You take that. He's potentially looking for something more. Does actually end up having to flash. I don't think that was necessary at all.
I think he was a little bit overconfident about what he could do in that scenario.
But I think the flash just wasn't necessary.
You think he would?
It was going to yank him back out of tower, I think, to the edge of tower range. You weren't going to die there. Fiala getting a bit overzealous, ends up trading summoners. But ultimately applying pressure on this Aatrox. And now it's just this back and forth. And this dragon that Bifrost were able to get, this is where it's actually becoming a big factor.
Because they've delayed the game by at least another 5 minutes with the Dragon Soul.
Because right now, it would normally be a minute 30 away from that Dragon Soul.
Yeah.
And then there'd be another period of time before the Elder. That has been delayed. So now Bifrost don't really need to contest anything. As long as they have a Scrying Orb or an ultimate available for Baron, they're fine. As long as Shackle isn't too far away or on a reset, they're fine. They can give over this next dragon and then look to contest the next one. Now, it is sometimes risky giving over the 3rd dragon, because then if you fight the next one, a smite during it can give it over. But I feel like Cloud Soul is as strong as it can be. I don't think you're too bothered about that. I feel like Bifrost, with this goal discrepancy, next fight for the dragon, they should just give it up. They should go cool. They should get some heavy vision around the Baron area. And then just look to stall for another 5 minutes. And then in 5 minutes, they potentially go, cool, okay. Then they'll have Triforce for Ezreal. Then they'll have 2.5 items for energy, maybe. That's the point where you can say, okay, now we contest a fight.
I think you may even not be that bothered about Dragon Soul, depending on where you are in the game at that point as well. I mean, you could just say, all right, well, let's just wait for Elder.
Yeah, but I think the conversation always goes is that dragons, just standard dragons. If you're strong, sure. Otherwise, not. Dragon Soul, you want to fight for.
If you can.
If you can. Baron, you do definitely want to fight for, but some situations you may have to give it up. Elder, you just can't give up. That buff is just way too strong. you have to contest that one. So I feel like there's definitely different levels of how much you have to contest depending on how behind you are.
Oh, so much damage coming in.
Yeah, that's the poke coming in.
Yeah.
And Sharp can sustain up, does have that built into his kit, and with Scuttle Crab spawning soon, you can use that. But ultimately, it's very difficult to posture around an objective against his team composition. If you're trying to set up for a Baron and you get poked out, that can potentially cause resets within your composition. Because yes, Sharp can heal up, but a lot of members on your team can't actually do that.
Lots of armor being built up for Fiala right now. They're going to go for, I mean, you can see they're going to go for the Dragon. No contest coming through from Bifrost, as you would expect. They're just going to let it go. It is the right call, absolutely. They're just going to let this one go. Energy, though, I mean, I've got to praise Bifrost where we can. The farm has been consistent between the carries. They've managed to just funnel that gold on with the waves shoving in. They are hitting item spikes. They are still behind. Don't get me wrong. They're still behind item spikes to their opposition. I mean, you're looking at a Luden's, almost Zonya's, Rabadon's on Priskanet. And obviously, we're a little way away from that when you're looking at energy. But right now, Bifrost are probably pretty comfortable. They're probably saying, okay, look, we entered the early game. We made some bad decisions, but we've kept it stable for nearly 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think the mid game was a big factor, but here in this position, 6,000 gold down, game's not over. You just have to stop Hybrid from taking those key objectives. If they start the Baron, kill them. You have the poke to do so. If they get low from it, if they get critically that magic resist debuff from fighting the Baron, energy will do so much damage. All you have to do is just not overstep. And that's why it gets a little bit precarious, because one misstep from Bifrost could end up just costing the game when you're on the back foot. Obviously not instantly, but say Shackle steps too far forwards, he dies, Pedersen dies, Baron goes, suddenly you're in a position where you can't contest the next, the Cloud Soul, etc. So essentially just don't misstep, don't step up too far, stop them from doing Baron. Bifrost are good to go.
Hybrid just playing an ultimate game of chicken around the, what do we call it, the IG bush? They're playing an ultimate game of chicken around that Raptor ward area. They're just saying, okay, we're gonna keep putting control wards down. Check us because we have the Thresh, but you know, are we doing Baron or not? That's basically what they're playing right now. A huge amount of damage comes onto Shackle, but a little bit of healing comes through from Yuumi. They're attempting to go for the Baron with just the Aphelios. He has got that combo to make it very, very difficult for Bifrost to give them time. They're forcing it right now. The ultimate comes through, huge damage, actually gets dodged out. I think this could be a Baron going through right now. It's so slow to react from Bifrost. They take one kill, but they do lose the Baron. Yeah,
really nice play coming out from Hybrid. They have the setup and they say it's go time. The critical thing here was the weapons available for Mervs. When you have Crescendum, especially with the Severum, you can literally just start the Baron up with the jungler and you have enough damage to essentially just do it yourself. So they pick the timing and the weapons from the Aphelios. They had Priskanet on zoning duty, so Shackle had to ult very early, and there was nothing really Bifrost could do, and that's the big mistake. They're now over 7,000, well, yeah, 7,000 gold ahead. Dragon spawning in 2 minutes 30. They have this Baron buff to push with, and this is where things start to get a little bit concerning for Bifrost, because that big objective you didn't want to give over the Baron has now gone. Soul is going to be on the card soon, but critically, this is the point where they can potentially start to push up and take those tier 2 towers.
Yeah.
And now my typical metric I measure team success by is on your first Baron, you want to kill all the turrets outside the base. And actually, we've seen a bit of a fight come out here.
Yeah, the ultimate comes through from Olaf. Huge damage, Sharp dodges out. That's the Ezreal ultimate. The Yuumi picks him up. That is the final skill shot, landing that nail in the coffin for Sharp. Gets caught out there, but it was a beautiful combo of abilities for Bifrost to get him down.
And that's a huge thing to happen here because Hybrid are no longer at full strength, and they're going to be waiting a significant amount of time. They've just pushed the waves up. You can see Priskanet in the top lane. They have all the waves in the right position, and they've lost a member. So now Bifrost are able to react. They're pushing up mid themselves. I do feel like someone should respawn and handle top lane. I don't know why they're still pushing. My thought process here would be push mid up, then reset and catch these side waves, and you basically stall out everything that Hybrid have set up. But they do end up just kind of giving over a tower to Syndra.
Maybe worried about getting caught out on the reset with the Thresh there. That's the only thing that goes through my mind. I
mean, I think it's just them getting a little bit greedy, a bit ahead of themselves. We've got a pick, let's go.
Oh, he's dead. Takeset's just down. It was just complete disrespect from Takeset, and they lose the inhibitor turret to boot.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say about that one. You can't walk up to your level 17 Syndra. I think it goes without saying. Not with those items. Not that difference, especially not with Yuumi not there on top of you. So yeah, they lose top tower. Lee Sin's respawned. They're applying pressure mid, bot.
They lose mid lane tier 2. They lose bot lane tier 2. The gold lead has now opened up to 11k. I don't think the Ziggs bomb's going to do enough here.
So as I was saying, is that typically for me, when you get a Baron, this is what you should get. Is all the towers outside the base should get cleared up. If you break the base, then I'd say it's a success. It's more successful than the average Baron.
Desperation from Bifrost here, because that's just completely boxed themselves in the bottom side of the map. A great hook comes in from Akriz, and now this could be the end of the game. Take set. That one mistake cost his team the whole game. I think they were losing before, but realistically, that was the nail in the coffin for Bifrost. Hybrid are going to push in. They're going to take the Nexus turrets, and that will be GG to them.
Yeah, I think Bifrost bringing out another style, going for this poke composition. Early was fine, mid-game fell apart, and then late game, the problem is you make one mistake and it's just so costly, and they just kept making them.
You can pinpoint that one play that essentially opened up the game. The double TP, completely unsynchronized play in the bot lane for Bifrost, and Hybrid just then pushed on. Massive credit to Sharp, massive credit to Priskanet, both of whom I think essentially drove that game for Hybrid, especially Sharp. Very impressive stuff from him, but Priskanet in the late game as well was excellent, and that final pick onto Ezreal essentially sealed the deal.
And I just feel like Bifrost, again, trying to too many different styles, and this one is a hard one to implement. The fact that you have to sort of concede a lot of objectives in the early game to give up that pressure, the fact that the enemy team is going to challenge you, and the fact that typically poke comps are hard to play. I feel like this is the curse of Bifrost, of trying too many things. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, I really felt that their composition made a lot of sense, but we did say, like at the start, that if Hybrid could take advantage in the early game, that would be a very quick game. And I don't even know what the end time of the game was, but it was
29 minutes. I mean, the big point I was trying to make,
that's a fairly quick game
before the fights are going, is that normally when you see a team get a Baron, if they don't clear all the towers outside the base, I think they haven't really done much, right? If they clear all the towers, that's like cool, that's fair, that's sort of standard.
If they end the game, it was a good Baron.
If they end the game, then that's Bifrost messing up, right? Yeah. That comes from either one team being massively ahead and forcing, or in this case, one team just inting. And we spoke about Hybrid's composition, and one of the big concerns was that they didn't have great engage potential. They didn't have great setup if they wanted to start a fight. And so typically that can be an issue for a composition like this. And we saw the mid game did get stalled out quite a bit, but it ultimately didn't matter because Bifrost made enough mistakes for them to find the avenue in the game.
And also,
and the Baron setup as well.
Exactly. They went to the 1-3-1 with the Baron. Priskanet was stronger than any other player on that team in terms of pure damage output.
But I still think they could find a way through that. When they got that pick, if they'd reset and then just defended.
Take said just disrespected it.
It was just misplaced. That is the critical thing to say, is that this game was playable for Bifrost, but I feel like they misplayed it, and Hybrid on form.
Yeah,
they were looking really good.
They did what they needed to do. Sharp appears like a very good addition to this roster, and Hybrid need the wins right now. Hybrid before this were 3 and 6, so they're now 4. They're now 3 and 6. They were 2 and 6, so now they've got an extra win on the board. They are working their way towards playoff contention. So Hybrid could potentially turn around their season with the addition of Sharp. It looked like it was a very, very good pickup for them.
Yeah, and I think the draft made sense. I think they played it correctly. There were some concerns. If these compositions were both played perfectly, then maybe Bifrost would have found that avenue to win it. But too many mistakes cost them massively and put them on the back foot.
We've got a great game coming next, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Hillerod versus Vipers. Vipers obviously second best team in the league right now, but Hillerod on a massive tear.
They're third, 1 point behind.
4-game win streak. They're doing incredibly well. This could turn around that second place. We'll see you soon.